Hey, fellowship followers. Okay. Let's talk about war. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm going to read this real quick. This is from this fella here. Al Cuppet is his name. Okay. He was a Vietnam vet and he fought in Iraq too. Okay. Anyway, he wrote a letter. And he wrote it to a lot of people because of something that came across his way that he felt warranted a heads up to the people he sent it to. So I'm going to read it to you. Defeat of the U.S. Navy. Alexander B. Cuppet. To General Richard Myers, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I think this was written back in 2002 or sent in 2002. Anyway, so you have to look up and see when Richard Myers was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Info. So this was sent to all these other commands, okay? To the CNO, the Vice Joint Chiefs Chairman, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, CSA, Command Sergeant of the Army, SINCUR, SACUR, US UCOM, SINCPAC Fleet, SINCLAND Fleet, COMSUB PAC, COMSUB LAND, SINCSET, CDRJ, CSE, CG Southcom, CG ForceCom, CG Northcom, CG Alaskan Command, Senator Allen and Congressman Good and Cantor. So this was sent to everybody he could think of to warn him, okay? Subject, predicted destruction of the U.S. Navy Carrier Task Force. Now, give you an idea what that looks like, okay? That is the U.S. Navy Carrier Task Force. In here a couple submarines. They're probably, most likely they'd be under the water, but these are all destroyers and cruisers and support ships for the strike group. Missile destroyers and stuff. Okay. Okay, reference letter was sent to you. The reference letter was subject, Soviet defeat of the USS Kitty Hawk's radar surveillance screen in Westpac, 10 February 2002. Okay, so his reference letter he's talking about here was sent to you and 14 flag officers, including 9 members of Congress, conclusively proving that the Soviets now have spoofing capabilities which can defeat our best radar technology. The following will inform you of our coming naval defeat as a result of this pilfered capability. Moreover, you can thank Bill and Hillary Clinton for the spoofing technology transfer in 1993-1994. The reference letter also details how this transpired and can be found on page 129 and 130 of the book America Sold Out, published in 2003. General, I have a friend who, during the 9 years I have known him, has never been wrong on any prediction he has made. This includes, but is not at all limited to, the Dow Jones Industrial bottom out on 24 September 2002 and the rise of per barrel oil prices to the very dollar amounts this year. The subject prediction detailed below concerns the U.S. Navy. Some days ago, my friend was given a Holy Ghost vision of a U.S. Navy carrier task force consisting of 15 ships and 3 subs being attacked by a Chinese PRC forces. In the scenario, there was a football-shaped fleet, see attached, sailing in formation. That would be the diagram I just showed you. There were 14 surface ships ahead of or around the flagship, a CVA-CVN, a nuclear power aircraft carrier. Suddenly, the carrier, which was in the center of the formation, was hit on the port side. A huge hole opened and the carrier then slowed and shuddered to a stop. Before any planes could be launched, it rolled 30 degrees to port, casting all aircraft into the ocean. Okay, now let me get an idea what that looks like. Okay, Okay. Now, here you are, tooling along on the ocean, and you get hit on the port side, left side of the ship, okay? Somewhere up forward. A huge hole opened in the carrier, then slowed and shuddered to a stop. Before any planes could be launched, it rolled 30 degrees to port, casting all the aircraft into the ocean. Okay? Observe. Okay? Then it rolled to 90 degrees and capsized. Okay? It's 5,000 people on one of those. All in a matter of a few minutes. Enemy surface and subsurface elements were also operating. At that point, the entire formation was struck by missiles, each ship being hit, including 2 SSN submarines, which were operating submerged on the flanks of the CVA. This included the loss of a rover fast attack sub, which was also in the task force. Subsequently, enemy aircraft also overflew the fleet. Therefore, it must be ascertained the attacking planes were never detected by the radar screen. The ships were sunk by air-to-surface missiles, whereas the subs were sunk with air-to-subsurface devices. I suspect the missiles which hit CVA had a nuke tip. I also suspect the recent Sino-Soviet exercises were perfecting their operations plans to attack our Westpac units. Be advised, the bait will be an incident with Taiwan, and the Russians and the North Koreans shall be in some manner involved in the scenario. The entire formation was sunk. Let that sink in. The entire formation was sunk. Not one element unit surviving. The loss of life was great. Be advised, the gentleman having this vision has absolutely no knowledge of U.S. Navy surface or subsurface operation or tactics, to include convoy screening techniques. Have a great day, sir, as you and other chiefs are going to need a bunch of them soon. Very respectfully yet sorrowfully, with warm regards, Al Cuppet, Bronze Star and Purple Heart medals, Al RVN, Vietnam, 1970-71, 57-79, Secretary of Defense, Civilian Service Medal and Joint Staff, 1990 Joint Meritorious Unit Award and the Joint Staff, 1984 and 1990. All right, so that was from Al Cuppet. Over here on the map, I have depicted. Okay, this is the South China Sea, Philippine Sea, Pacific Ocean, Taiwan, and China. Okay, Japan's up here a ways. Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Australia's down here. Okay. As you can see, Taiwan is not that far from China. Okay, but it's a long way off from the United States. All right, long way away from home. I have another little letter here. I'm going over this because I just want to convey that this whole scenario has been warned about for quite a while. Okay, this is from Steve Holmes, January 15th, 2023. On January 12th, which was a couple days before that, 2023, while doing some online ADS-B plane spotting, I asked the Lord, why are 2 Japan military 777 aircraft flying from Ottawa to Washington, D.C.? Below is what he immediately told me. Okay, so he was monitoring. You can go online and check out a lot of different aircraft and their hull numbers and see what they're doing, where they're going, and where they're coming from. Okay. I asked the Lord, why are 2 Japan military 777 aircraft flying from Ottawa to Washington, D.C.? Below is what he immediately told me. They are planning for war with China. contingency plans, logistical planning, troop movements, munitions distribution, mobile freezer units for morgues, body retrieval and disposal of human remains, strategic planning, allies' responsibilities, weapons distribution and use, retreat contingencies, propaganda operations, chemical weapons use, bullet manufacturing and stockpiling, mortar and rocket stocks, espionage, counter-espionage, reconnaissance operations including satellites, communication hubs and hardware, uniforms, software, battle monitoring, evacuation logistics, medical triage units and hospital supplies, and manpower relocations, hospital staffing ramp up, air raid shelters, nuclear contingencies, operations and sheltering, secondary and tertiary bases, Guam, Wake Island, Philippines, Okinawa, Tinian, and other alternate forward and fallback operating bases. Naval operations, air operations, attack planning, manufacturing conversions to military support, expanding and adding radar sites, SAM sites for defenses, coordination among military leaders from participating countries, control of media and information, compulsory service draft planning and logistics, estimating acceptable losses. Do you want to know more? No, sorry I brought it up. Now you know why I put it on your heart to pray today. Millions of innocent people will lose their lives and their eternal souls if this situation develops into a full-blown war. The meddling of your country into the affairs of other nations is an abomination for which there is no excuse. I will have no sympathy when the nations of the world retaliate against the arrogance and belligerence of the United States and her allies. Your country has defied my call for men to live in peace and instead has become a warmongering menace to world peace for the benefit of no one but its genocidal stooges of Satan. I shall continue to bring destabilization to your land in order to prevent it from destroying all life on earth. For the earth is mine, and I meant it when I said it in my eternal word. And I also said, all men are mine, and I meant that as well. Your nation is going to reap what it has sown, and the harvest of pure evil is now ripe, mature, and trouble such as you cannot imagine is imminently forthcoming. Attacking China politically, financially, logistically, and militarily while abusing their patience is folly and a demand for your own destruction. They are not an impotent, backward, weak opponent. They are an empire that you cannot conquer. They have the logistical means to utterly destroy you, and so does Russia. It is a profoundly foolish desire among evil men in your country to control China and the world that will become the ultimate undoing and permanent destruction of the United States. And it goes on and on about maladies of our country and whatnot. So, my judgments have begun. Hold fast unto me that you may be able to endure the hardships and great difficulties that shall soon be upon you. Pray for protection, provision, and my peace that passes all understanding in the midst of the strangling of supply chains, and I will answer your prayers of faith. Get right with me in all things, and always remember that nothing is ever hidden from my sight unless it is covered in true repentance in the blood of my Son. So I convey those couple of messages there just to lay a baseline here as to that we have been warned, okay? This has been simmering for many years, and it's coming, and it's nearly here, okay? My aim was to talk about the draft, which was mentioned in there, and some of the propaganda that's going to be coming out about this war. And you know, this starts to simmer bad, and we lose a carrier or two, or three, or four even, and all the ships that go along with it. In a task force like that, you're talking about, you know, over 10,000 people, okay, 5,000 on the carrier by itself, and then all the other ships and subs and whatnot. And then there's the added, you know, consequence of the ocean being completely just devastated in those areas because of, you know, the different materials that are going to be just poured out into the ocean. Those carriers have, you know, many gallons of aviation fuel, oils, cleaning products, you know, not to mention the nuclear power plant, okay? And the likelihood that there are nuclear weapons on board those craft, okay? And they're just going to, you know, sink to the bottom and fester for who knows how long until, you know, they are exposed to the elements and then dissipate in the ocean. And it's not, you know, it's going to eventually fulfill the prophecy of all of sea life being dead, okay? And the ocean's turning into, you know, a vile pool that nobody's going to want to swim in, including the fish. But, so, you know, when this kicks off, you've got the issue over in Israel with Iran. And right now the date is, I think it's the 28th of June, okay, 2025. And there's been sort of this like ceasefire arrangement between Iran and Israel, which I don't see holding very much longer. You know, the banter back and forth is not good, and these people are just hell-bent on kicking off a gigantic conflagration over there. You know, war makes money for somebody, but you know, the people that are arranging all of this, none of them are going to be on point, okay? But they'll send your kids over there to be on point, all right? And you, all right? You know, if you've let's say you've done 2 or 3 tours, or 1 tour even, in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you've you know, you've gotten out and you've started your civilian you know, dream of whatever, you know, and you've been out for a couple of years, I would expect a call, okay? Because when this kicks off and we lose a lot of people, and we're going to lose a lot of people. Chuck Youngbrand had spoken of how the base, the large base near Bahrain in Saudi Arabia, that the Iranians were going to lob a missile over the Gulf, which is not very far distance, okay? And it was going to hit that base, and it was going to be a nuclear weapon, okay? So, you know, forget the debate about whether they have nuclear weapons or they don't have nuclear weapons. They do have nuclear weapons, and they're going to use them. We're forcing that issue, though. They probably would never have, you know, at least not real soon, tried to, you know, start this whole thing. But it's going to get out of hand, and they're going to be forced to, you know, try to finish it, okay? And, you know, they may not have started this whole thing, but they're going to finish it. And when that happens, I don't know how many people are on that base or on the bases in Iraq or Syria, you know, but I would imagine a good portion of our army is over there. And some Marines. The Marines are probably on board ships, and but they probably have a contingent on the land as well to help support you know, any actions we may get into about landing on beaches or anything like that. Because the Marines are the first ones in usually. You'll have airborne going in, you know, and all that, true, deeper in. But if they have to try to seize a port or hit some infrastructure that is supporting the military in Iran, then, you know, the Marines are going to be used. So And the Air Force, there's the Air Force over there. They've got airstrips. They've got, you know, landing strips for all their supplies and weapons and tanks and armored vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot over there, and they're sitting ducks. I was listening to some congressmen talking this morning, and they were not too happy about the idea of us going to war, and they were giving the reasons why. And one of them even said straight up, he said, look, we have our troops are sitting there just sitting ducks. And he was absolutely right, okay? Because against, you know, there's no defensive system that's going to work forever, okay? Eventually, the other side is going to find a way to make a crack in that protection, and then, you know, seize the opportunity. Once that happens, man, it's going to be all to the wall. And you know, when they manage to get that one nuke in there, that's the game changer right there. And I imagine we're going to lob some nukes. Tehran, you know, it's a city like Los Angeles, you know, and there's a lot of innocent civilians. I mean, I know Iranians. I know some Iranians, and they're just people that want to live and let live, you know, just like us. And many of them are going to die. I mean, we're exporting a lot of death from this country, and God's going to judge it. And in that judgment is going to be these scenarios where our country's going to become weaker and weaker and weaker. And but in that process, when we start losing a lot of people, you're going to start hearing a lot more, you know, patriotic songs on the radio, and a lot more, you know, American rah-rah, you know, let's go get them kind of deal, like happened after 9/11, okay? And it was, you know, this projected con, okay, of theirs to get as many people behind the effort as possible. They're going to try to get as many people behind all this as they can. They're going to use propaganda, they're going to use radio, music, you know, patriotic songs, and let's get behind it and let's go rah-rah and all that. Well, I want to talk about the draft, okay, because they're going to draft a lot of people, okay? And you can say, well, they're not going to draft me, you know, blah, 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 I'm going to run to the hills. And well, they're going to find you, and they're going to throw you in a truck and take you there, okay? I used to be in when I was in the Army, we used to have these AWOL abatement teams, and I was part of that. And I would go out, we'd go right to the guy's house, rouse them out of bed, and throw them in the truck and go, and bring him back. And then you have to pop tall in front of the old man, explain why he didn't want to show up on time or whatever. And then he got reduced in rank and penalized, and then he had to be there anyway. So, you know, they have the means to do it, okay? They can penalize your parents, they can, you know, make it very difficult for your family, and it's going to be, you know, just the way it's going to be. So, for the parents, it's a hard thing, okay? You know, you raise this person up since they were born, and you nursed them at your breast and all of that, and it's hard to watch your child have to go to war, okay? It's going to be the hardest probably on you, and it hasn't changed in, you know, thousands of years. So, you know, it's my aim to give you a heads up, okay, that this is coming. This war is marching on. It's going to happen. So your kids are going to get taken, and maybe you. Maybe you've done 2 or 3 tours. You know, you've been out for a few years. You've set up your civilian business. You know, you've got everything rocking and rolling. Well, you know, is not out of the realm, because they need experienced people to be cadre, to be teachers, to be boot camp instructors, to be, you know, whatever, okay, and trigger pullers, okay. You know, they have a lot of different jobs, okay, and you don't necessarily have to be on the front line. You can be in the rear doing paperwork or whatever, okay, and they will, you know, if you got kids in the ages of 15, 16, 17, 18, up to 30, okay, you can expect that they're going to be coming, okay? If your kid's not, you know, handicapped in some way, you know, they will take as many people as they have time to take, okay? So they're gonna have to reboot the numbers, because they're gonna lose a lot of people in a big hurry, and there'll be this, you know, gigantic push to get people down to the processing centers and in the Army or in the Navy or in the Air Force or Marines or whatever. So, you know, if you've got a lot of kids, you know, you've got some kids and they're not inclined militarily in any way, shape, or form. They haven't had any interest in it whatsoever, and maybe they're not in the greatest shape in the world. Maybe they're computer whiz bangs and they have a job doing that or whatever. They're in for a rude awakening, okay? And my advice to them would be to you know, go out and utilize the resources that are available to you right now. You've got veterans, okay, that have been through it, neighbors maybe, you know, anybody that's been over there or been in combat, been on a ship, sub or whatever, that has some military experience, okay? And, you know, a lot of the law enforcement has a lot of guys that were in the military, especially infantry and military police and things like that. So, and then, you know, go down to the VA, find out where these guys are being cared for, and go in and sit next to him and sit on his bed and talk to him and suck his brains for everything you can. If he's willing to, you know, come forth with it, because some of these guys have been so traumatized, they just don't want to talk about it anymore. And I can understand that, but if you put it in such a way that you're inquiring from them because they are the only ones that have the diamonds of knowledge, okay, and you expect to be called or whatever, and you want to know as much as you can possibly get through it and survive it and get back, you know. And so there's that resource. There's military history books on it about all the different wars, Vietnam, Iraq, you know, Desert Storm, all of that, okay? And you can pick up little tidbits along the way through those books. And you can get online and find out what's available online, you know, from veterans. There's a lot of veterans out there that have even YouTube channels, okay? And they put out a lot of good information about different aspects of warfare, okay? And tidbits on, tips on combat, tips on what to do, you know? And they're gonna have to be, you know, the better shape you're in now, the better off you're gonna be later, because it won't be such a suffering grind, okay? You know, most of my life I've been very physical, so getting, you know, up to standard, or a good standard of physical fitness was not that difficult for me, but it may be for some of your children and maybe some of you. Maybe when you got out, you let it slide, you know, you ate a lot of jelly donuts or whatever, you know. But I would cut that off, okay? And I would go invest in a Bowflex or something and run and bone up on your skills, your infantry skills, okay? Because those are going to be really handy. And there's a thing in the military, it's kind of a joke, but it's like you've got in the infantry, you've got mechanized infantry, and then you've got airborne, and they call it light infantry, okay? That's the joke. It's nothing light about it. Everything in the military is heavy, okay? You can be expected to carry, you know, a 60-pound ruck, maybe with a radio in it, and batteries, and ammo, and a plate for the mortar, or whatever. But it's all heavy stuff. The extra barrel for the M60 machine gun, or whatever the equivalent is now today. It's a heavy barrel. I mean, it's this long, and it probably weighs about 8 pounds, you know. So the M60 itself weighed 23 pounds without any ammo in it. And it'll build your bicep up, you know, and build you up, because you're just dragging that thing everywhere you go, and you're on a patrol that's, you know, 15 kilometers or 8-10 miles. It you know, it'll build you up. You know, it'll break you down a little, but it'll build you up in the long run. And I mean, everything is heavy. I mean, you know, and this is how you're going to be throwing it up, okay? In a big ass hurry, okay? It's going to be like wham, bam, go, you know? If you're a QRF force or something like that, and you have to go, and you chuck it on, and grab your weapon, and out the door you go, okay? And throw it on a truck, or throw it on a Hummer, or in the back of a chopper, or a C-130, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, you're going to have to run and run and run with all that on you, and ammo and water. And it's probably the most demanding, strenuous occupation that there is, okay? I've done some pretty strenuous occupations in my day, and I have to say that you know, being infantry was the most demanding of them all, okay? And I roofed, okay? I used to carry rolls of 90-pound up a ladder. I would throw it on the roof all day long, and then have to use it, you know, all day long, and a mop and all of that in my earlier days when I was, you know, I used to be 20, so. But even now, because of the foundation that I built back then when I was younger, I mean, I'm over 60, okay? Well over 60. And, I mean, I'll last 10 minutes maybe, you know? It'll be one hell of a 10 minutes, but after that, you know, it's like calling reinforcements, you know? But still, you know, I can hang for a minute or two because of that foundation that was built when I was younger. And that's what I'm trying to say is, get out and get physical, okay? Get your kids out there and there's very little time to do this, to get ready now, because this war is going to kick off, and, you know, as soon as we start losing people, they're going to be kicking this draft up, okay? You're going to hear about it on the news. Congress is going to make some decree, the president's going to say something, and you know, it'll be all this fervor to get it going. So those notices are already made, okay? They're already stamped. They're ready to be sent. They have your name. They have your number. They know exactly where you are, and they will find you. And, you know, within a very short time, you're going to be in boot camp. And because of the dire situation that things are going to be in, they may reduce the time of training because they have to, okay? Because they have to accelerate the whole program in order to get people on the ground in a hurry. So you may not be as well trained or as well assimilated into the situation as you would have been otherwise. I don't know that that's a fact, but I would imagine that that's what they're going to have to do. I think when I was in boot camp, it was 8 or 9 weeks, and then you went to an A school, or you went to an occupational specialty course that lasted a few months or something. And I would also advise, if you can, go to every school they will send you to, okay? Go to airborne school, go to sniper school, go to, you know, demolition school, go to military police school, whatever that is. I don't know, I don't remember the number. I was 11 Bravo. Okay, so you know, go to all the leadership schools you can go to. Get every piece of material on the subject that you can to read, to soak it up. Okay, there's things online. You know, veterans, the guys that you're actually in there with. Some of the older E6s and E7s have been through the whole ringer, and they know, and they've learned a whole lot of stuff up there. Soak their brains, suck their brains, man, for everything you can. Okay. Anyhow, yeah. So the whole idea is to get as much experience that you can glean off these people to give you a step ahead, you know, give you a heads up, give you a head start on what is eventually coming your way. Okay, you know, start doing push-ups, start doing sit-ups, start to run a little bit. You don't have to go run 2 miles right off the bat. Okay, when I was in, you had to run the 2 miles in under a certain number of minutes for your age group. Okay. Now, when I was in, the last time I was in, I mean, I could get away with doing it in 11 minutes. You know, and that's pretty quick. 11-minute mile, 2 miles in 11 minutes. You know, and yet I was able to do about 88 push-ups. Okay, in 2 minutes, and I was able to do I don't know, 100 sit-ups. It was always easy for me to do sit-ups. I don't know why. I just didn't have a problem with doing sit-ups. But and even later, I mean, I can just keep going. It's weird. It's like I get bored and I just stop, you know. But not everybody's like that, so you're gonna have to work at it. All right. And if your job hasn't been a physical job, like running up and down ladders or running around a big business, you know, then your legs are probably a little behind the 8 ball. Okay. And the legs is what carries you through all of this, because everything's on the ground, okay? Everything you carry eventually is going to be supported by those legs. And you just start out gradually. And don't hurt anything, don't pull anything, but just start gradually, and you know, in a couple of weeks you'll see a difference. And in a month you'll see a bigger difference, and you'll feel better. And you know, it's just physical fitness is important. It helps you get through life's bumps a little bit easier, you know. So, but I would get on it, okay, because this isn't going to take very long to get going. I just checked the news a little bit ago, and they're already talking about somebody's lobbing something over there already. So it's going to unravel, and then. You know, and could be something happening here within the United States that really pushes the accelerator. You have some huge terrorist or some false flag or whatever you want to call it, but it's just some disaster, man-made kind of disaster, where you've got bombs going off or something and it kills a lot of people, and they're going to find, guess who the scapegoat's going to be, you know? Well, they're going to come up and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? We need to reinstate the draft. You know? We need more people. They might do it like that. They may, you know, I don't know, but I know they're going to do it. So they're going to do it damn quick. And they'll take people, you know, and they're not only going to take people from the military, but they're going to take people for other types of occupations, okay, that support the defense, that support the defense industry, okay? And they'll test you, they'll do whatever, they'll slot you into a place where you'll be of the most good to them, okay? You know, forget the politics of it and all that. Bottom line is, you're going, you need to get ready for it, and don't be afraid about it, okay? Embrace it. Embrace it. Because then it won't be such a grind on your brain, okay? Get into it. Encourage the guys you're with, or the gals you're with. don't let the negative chatter and all that crap bother you, because you're going to have enough on your mind just learning how to use an AR-15 or M16 or whatever they use in an AG4, whatever, okay? Because they're going to throw this stuff at you so fast, so furious, you're going to have to be focused like a laser beam on what they're teaching you, okay? And you'll be surprised. You'll learn it real fast. And you're going to be tired, okay? You're going to be tired. And you're going to be hungry, because it's just like there's never time to eat enough, okay? But, you know, you can squirrel away an apple or an orange or something and put it in your pocket, you know what I mean, when you're leaving the chow hall. And, you know, or maybe in the Navy we used to have a thing called mid-rats, where you could go at midnight if you had a different shift, you know, because usually they have 3 shifts, 8-hour shifts. And sometimes, you know, you'd pull the midnight to 8 watch or whatever. So, you know, you go down to the chow hall and they would usually have a really good breakfast available, a breakfast meal of eggs and ham and all that kind of stuff, and then you could glom that down and then go do your deal, you know. And that's what I used to do. I mean, I would work out a lot, and then I would eat like a horse, you know. And I got up to be about 212 at one point, and I was all muscle. But I lost a few pounds since then, but it's still somewhat muscle. But it used to be 20, you know what I mean? So, but the bottom line is they're going to call you up, okay? And you need to get ready for it. And you parents, you need to get yourselves ready for this, okay? And loved ones and kin. Because you're going to observe and see what's going to happen to the kin and the loved ones of the people that are there now. When they get hit, okay, there's going to be a wave of grief that's going to roll from, you know, San Francisco all the way to Boston, across this whole country. And it's going to be a difficult thing to observe, even, and you're going to feel it yourself. If you're an American in any shape, way, or form, your heart's going to go out to those people. And I mean, I know mine will. It already is. And because some of those, I trained some of those guys that are out there. They're a lot older now. They're probably, you know, E7s, E8s, majors, you know, colonels, whatever. I don't know. Maybe even some admirals and some generals, but, you know, they're my guys. They're my guys. So it's going to be a tough thing. So you're going to have to try to compartmentalize that pain and put it aside so you can just keep functioning, okay? And with prayer and God's help, you'll be able to do that, okay? No doubt, because that's what I do, and it works. It works. Sometimes it's harder than other times, you know. But, you know, that's why we're here to get through it together, okay? That's what brothers and sisters do. So, so I was going to show you a picture real quick. Something I found. Okay, this is the different types of Russian submarines that are out there. Different classes of submarines, okay? This is a Belgorod, and it's a big nuclear boomer, okay? They carry a lot of nuclear warheads, all right? This is a Yazin class. It's a fast attack kind of sub, and it's state of the art, you know, and they have a lot. They have, I think they have like 8 or 9 of those now, these Belgorods, and they have, I don't know, they probably got 5 or 6 of those. This was the old Red October type, you know, class, Typhoon, okay? And they still have a few of those in service, and, you know, they have some quiet Sierra class types, and the Chinese have some of these, and other nations that they support. But, you know, they have built a lot of these boats, okay? And they have a lot of different categories because they have different missions, okay? And you know, they're well trained, okay? The crews on those boats, that's all they do all day long, is sit off our coast and go through battle drills, okay, and launch their missiles. That's what they do. And nobody talks about them too much, you know, but they're out there, you know, they're off the coast. You know, like, let's say this is our coast, okay? They're off the coast, just sitting out there, just waiting, you know, a couple places. And when they get the emergency action message says launch, you know, Operation Kilo, they have a certain target list that they have, and all the missiles are already pre-targeted. They just have to, all they got to do is activate it and hit the button. And those missiles are on their way, and there's nothing going to stop those missiles, you know, outside of a malfunction. Or if they detonate them themselves before they get there. If they call it off, if they can, I don't know. But once they're in the air, it's very little anybody's going to be able to do, okay? And, you know, they have 8 of these. These are those Belga rods. This thing's 600 feet long, okay, plus. And it's a little dusty, but right here's all the missiles, okay? And each one of these missiles can carry, you know, several warheads. They launch them, they get up there, they point them down and spit those warheads out, you know? And the warheads go different areas, maybe to take out a certain area, you know? But they're very potent, and they have like 8 of these. And with these alone, 1 or 2 of these, like if you only put 1 on one coast and 1 on the other coast, you could devastate a large portion of the United States just with, you know, two of these. Now, from what UB Ready was saying, he's another fellow that I follow, there's going to be 40 of these, not necessarily that class, but that class plus the Delta class. Okay, when I was in, these were the Deltas, okay? When I was in the Navy, that was like their most advanced sub at the time. Then they came out with this. Then they came out with this, okay, recently, in the last 15 years, they came out with this one. So, you know, they have a lot of missile subs, okay? And it's not out of the realm of reality to think there's going to be 40 subs. There'll be, here, I'll show you. So there'll be 20 subs here, 5 subs here, 15 subs here. Okay? Let me make sure you can see all that. Okay, yeah. So, you know, they'll hit Bremerton, Frisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, cities in between, you know, people like California, and then parts of Nevada. You know, you've got bases out here, Area 51 and all that, and then you've got Cheyenne Mountain, you know, and near Colorado Springs and all of that, and bases in between, you know. There's bases up here, bases out here. All of our missile silos are peppered along in here, okay? They're going to get nailed, you know, and then the ones over on this side are going to take care of the targets on the East Coast and the Midwest, you know. So, and you know, and I mean, Hawaii and Alaska too, you know. Hawaii's going to get nailed when they take Taiwan, okay? Before they take Taiwan, I would imagine. They might even bugger up San Diego pretty good in Frisco. But, you know, that's what those subs are for, okay? I just wanted to show you the submarine layout. And that they do have the capability. There's no doubt about it. They can do this. And after they bomb, then you've got this scenario going on, okay? They're going to bring every ship they can from the north up there, and then the Venezuelans and all that, they're going to hit Florida. There's a base down here in Florida they're going to hit, and then they're going to drive up the highway, and they're going to hit Philly, nearby Philly, a place called Slaughter Beach, according to Chuck Young Brent. And they just drive up the highway, and he saw only one tank giving them any opposition. One brave tank, okay, and crew that was in the way of the Russian, mobile invasion of this whole thing. So, and I imagine they're going to be dropping airborne troops in certain locations to seize the certain locations. And this is after the bombing, okay? After the bombing, after they bomb the subs and everything, then when the dust settles a little bit and they can do a little recon with the satellites and see what's up as best they can. Plus they have operatives here already that are going to be on the ground, giving information or giving reports, salute reports, you say, size, activity, terrain, and all that. So all of that is going to be going on, and then they'll come in and they will take the U.S. Army. The seat of government is going to be somewhere near Wichita, okay, at that time. And the U.S. Army will make its last stand right in this area right here against this force coming in. And this is going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight, okay, the invasion part. Now, if you're in the U.S. Army or you're in the Marine Corps or whatever, and you're stationed here in the United States, all right, it's going to be hell on earth for a while, all right? And eventually, you're going to have to back up, okay? You're going to back up into this little area. Well, at some point, you're going to, that's it. You're going to run for the hills because your support mechanism dried up. And you're going to have to run for the hills. And you're going to be conducting guerrilla warfare from that point forward. Hit and run, hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. And some of the civilian population is going to be with you, behind you, helping you out during this time, okay? The Lord, it's judgment, okay, but He always leaves a remnant. And that remnant is going to be a very humble, reverent remnant, okay? And, I mean, they're going to understand God's message, okay? And they're going to take it to heart, and they are going to be the core of whatever is left in this country after that. And a lot of the people in this country, when this invasion takes up, these people, they're going to take a lot of people and ship them overseas for labor, okay? So wrap your mind around that too, and that's coming, okay? And it's going to be basically kind of like a return upon our own heads, where we have been conducting, sex slavery and all this stuff, and a lot of evil deeds that the United States is doing that not a lot of people are aware of. But there's this trade of human trafficking and all of that going on. Anyway, so they're going to take a lot of Americans, and you're going to be making little rocks out of big rocks, or doing whatever they want you to do, and it's going to be a tough deal. So anyhow, so I wanted to convey that this draft is coming, and you need to get ready for it, okay? And embrace it, okay? Embrace it. Read your Bibles. Pray. And that strength will get you through it no matter what happens, okay? Take care of your troops. That was always, one of the most important things I ever learned out of the whole military deal was to take care of your people. Take care of their feet, take care of their bodies, take care of their souls, their minds, nurture them, because in a way they're your kids, okay? They just are. God has put them in your under your nurturing, okay? And just, follow His ways and do the best you can at that, and it'll all be good, okay? Anyway. Oh, we're still recording. Okay. Well, I thought I heard it click. Um, there's, you know, it's upon us, okay? It's just coming. And he told us not to fear, okay? It's going to be scary, all right. But don't, you know, just remember he's right there. You can talk to him anytime. And he can, if you try, you know, he'll let you know. He always has me. And if you screw up, you know, you might be asked to do some things that are against your moral principles. But, you know, you'll have time to think about all that later. Like a lot of our troops, they're thinking about it now, and that's why some of the suicide rates are so bad. But, you know, keep it straight. If you have to go and you're doing these things, stand up for what's right. Don't let them get away with it. You know, I mean, I used to protect my troops from hire a lot. I used to get myself in trouble with the brass, but you know what? It was worth it because it protected my guys from their issues. You know, and I mean, we would go against the gates of hell for the right guy, but the wrong guy, you know, he'd kill us for stupid. You know, it's like, no, you need to you know, pull your head out, buddy. And this is how it works, okay? You need to have the, you know, the fortitude to do that. When you see something going on wrong, even if it's like within another platoon's unit or whatever, if there's something not right about what they're doing, immoral or whatever, hey, call them on it, man. Call them on it. Otherwise, you're going to lose worse than you were going to lose anyway, you know? God's not going to stand for that, and he'll you know, he'll accelerate your doom if you don't. So stand up, be the man or be the woman or whatever, but stand up, stand your ground. You know, don't let that stuff slide, because that'll get you in trouble faster than anything. All right, so I hope I helped somebody out there. And I pray that you take it to heart, okay? Tell your kids, it's a serious deal. Serious as a heart attack, all right? It is coming, they will take them, and they will go. And, you know, get ready. All right, Roger out.